internationally trained PT struggling to pass the PCE or OCE, you're not alone. The latest data shows that only 59.9% of the internationally educated candidates pass the written component in their first attempt compared to the staggering 96.7% for the Canadian educated candidates. Why does this gap exist? What challenges make it harder for internationally trained PTs? Let's break down the key reasons behind this low pass rate and give you an actionable strategy to improve your chances to pass the exam. The huge pass rate gap. The pass rate disparity is massive, while nearly 97% of the Canadian-trained PTs pass the written exam. Just under 60% of internationally trained candidates succeed in their first attempt. That's nearly a 40% of a difference. And if we look at the first-time test takers, the gap is even more clear. 96.8% of the Canadian-educated first-time test takers pass, and 60.5% of internationally educated first-time test takers pass. Why do we have such a big gap between them? That means nearly 4 in 10 internationally trained PTs fail on their first attempt, right? Why do internationally trained candidates struggle? So what's causing the huge gap? Let's look at the 4 biggest challenges faced by internationally trained physiotherapists who are coming across the world in order to practice in Canada as their physiotherapist. Let's talk about the very basic and foundational cause. Now you see, PCE is a highly standardized and focused on evidence-based practice, clinical reasoning, precise decision making, and many internationally candidate education systems emphasize on hands-on skills more than the theoretical frameworks, which makes it a little harder to adapt to the style of the exam. This is especially tough for repeat test takers. The data shows that only 58.5% of internationally repeat test takers pass, compared to 93.8% Canadian repeat test takers who are taking the exam again. Many internationally trained PTs are not used to the multiple choice format of the written exam. The questions does not just test the knowledge, but also critical thinking, clinical judgment, problem solving under the time pressure. Unlike any traditional exams in some countries, where you might write long form answers, PCE requires you to pick most correct answer. It's a skill that needs a specific training. Language and communication barriers. Again, I'm not saying that you can't speak and read and write English. Even if you are a great physiotherapist, language can be a hidden barrier. The exam uses complex medical terminology, case scenarios, patient-centered communication that requires expectations that can be tricky for non-native English speakers. So misinterpreting just a few keywords in a question can cost you a lot. Lack of exam-specific preparation. Many internationally trained candidates try to self-study, use general textbooks, but that isn't enough. So exam follows a specific format, and those who don't train with mock exams, structured courses, or mentorship, they often struggle because they lack in understanding the psychology of the exam and underestimate the pressure and the time constraints. Now, remote versus in-center testing. Another interesting trend is how candidates are taking the exam. In 2022, about 1,000 candidates took the exam remotely, while only 850 around an average took it in person. So if you're considering remote proctoring, keep in mind that factors like internet stability, test-taking environment, how comfortable are you with digital platforms may impact your performance. How to improve the pass rate. So if you are an internationally trained PT, how can you increase your chances of passing the PCE? So let's talk about what I recommend you to do. Number 1, understanding the exam format. Solve sample questions, even at the CAPR website, retired PCE written mock exams to take and just to get familiar with how answers are structured. Work on clinical reasoning. Don't just memorize, but understand why each answer is correct or what makes it wrong. Check out the video that we made on how to improve your scores. Then you have practice timed mock exams. Simulate real exam conditions to build confidence. Join a structured prep program like a PCE Final Frontier course for the right approach towards your exam preparation. I know this can be a little overwhelming for y'all, but believe me, you're not alone. With the right preparation, you can pass, and you'll be soon a resident physiotherapist. Good luck.